The wait is over. The wait is over.
Coming to you on Berlin time.
It is the summer of Stiller.
Summer of Stiller.
Summer of Stiller. Summer of Stiller. Summer of Stiller. Summer of Stiller. Gonna be Stiller. Gonna be Stiller. Benjamin Stiller. Benjamin Stiller.
So into the Master of Rom-Coms.
Yeah, entering the Master of Rom-Coms. So let us talk.
Mary.
There is something about Mary. I had not seen this one before, and my only context for it beforehand was that I had listened to a podcast episode with Ben Stiller from a few months ago. I don't remember. I'll not tell you what it was from, but he had talked about. He had a little section where he talked about how vital this movie was when it came out for not only his career but for the rom-com category, because like I said earlier, it was one of, if not the first mainstream movie to bring actually I take that back, because it was directed by the Farrelly brothers, who made Dumb and Dumber the year before, I believe. So this was kind of their trademark that they blew up on, was making these kind of outrageous comedies that had quote unquote like gross, I guess humor would be how to describe it. So there's something about Mary along with Dumb and Dumber were the ones to kind of break that door in. And so that was my only context for it. And I do think watching it now, there's a little bit of like, because it's been, like almost 25 years, there's been a lot of movies that kind of have sort of emulated that since. So I'm not as like privy to being my mind being blown like if it was 1998 and I was watching it, but it was really good, and I can easily understand how it was the blueprint. It was really enjoyable to watch. The plot wasn't the greatest in the world, but it wasn't bad. I thought it serviced. It really felt like this was a service. The plot was a service to get from bit to bit to bit, more so than anything. That said, there are movies like that are a lot worse with plot. So this felt, like I said, enjoyable. I did not think I'd be watching Ben Stiller jacking off and then having cum dripping out off of his head. Excuse me, semen dripping from his head.
I don't know if there's a word for that.
No, there's a word for that.
No, yeah, I think yeah, not even just that, but also I feel like the beginning scene with Keith David also had some like really unexpected turns.
Yeah,
I feel like when you're going into it thinking it's like a Ben Stiller movie, I think this one's just like over the top, not what you're expecting.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a larger discussion to be had about romantic comedies now. And I mean, I've talked, so much papers full of on this podcast about how I feel like comedies now are kind of being reduced and kind of shuffled to the side because of things like Netflix pumping them out, every 3 months, and the mediocrity of it. But I feel like even as a rom-com goes, it feels like the last 10-15 years of romantic comedies, at least from what I've seen and what I know has been mainstream, has been like more about the like romance and awe factor of it than the comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How I just described the plot going from bit to bit. It seems like now it's more like the bits are not at the forefront, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just kind of commenting on the nature of it. I don't know if it's up to me to say that's a bad thing or not. Personally, as a student of comedy myself, I would much prefer something like this. Yeah, so this just, I don't necessarily buy at the end of the movie. I guess, I mean, from what I read, there were other reviews from the time sort of also coming up with the point where it's like the end is a little bit of a cop-out with the happy ending, but like I said, it feels the comedy feels more important to me than anything. So.
Dude, better than the Reality Bites ending.
Yeah, exactly. This is Yeah.
So I guess to give a brief. Should we go give like a little brief timeline of the movie's events?
Yeah, sure.
It
You
starts
want
with
me?
Ben Stiller
Yeah.
in high school, and him talking about how like Mary Cameron Diaz was his first crush, and she was cool even though he was lame, I guess, and he had
Well, because he stood up for her brother when he was
right.
beat up.
He was getting bullied. He stood up for him, and she like was cool to him, and they hit it off. And he was like, "Oh, let's go to prom." So they're going to prom together. He goes to her house to get ready or pick her up from prom, and Keith David plays her stepdad, who's always hilarious when he wants to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't hilarious in The Thing, but he was still a boss anyway. We have this scene where Ben Stiller goes to the bathroom to pee, and when he's finished, he he zips
His
part of his
scrotum?
penis and
Yeah.
balls completely zipped up in his zipper, and there's a whole ordeal with them trying to get it out. And like Keith David comes in, and then he calls his wife in, and like Mary comes in,
Very funny.
and then like a cop shows up, and they're all like all looking at they're like all looking at Ben Stiller's, and eventually we get to see it, and it's like we just get like a split second frame of like of just like chunks of skin like woven between the zipper, like physically impossible for this to happen.
Right.
But yeah, it's hilarious, and the firefighter or the cop or someone tries to unzip it, cuts to him in an ambulance, and then we get the classic, and that's the last I saw of her. Like, that was 20 years ago or something like that. And the whole movie essentially focuses on Ben Stiller learning that Mary is still around or something, and like hiring a private detective to find where she lives, which happens to be Miami, and he wants to go see her again. The issue is the private detective falls in love with Mary. There's something about her, right? And so now it's like this arms race between who can get her to fall in love. And the whole thing is the private detective's a master of lies, and he weaves this intricate, endless web of every single detail he tells about her is false, and they all connect to make this one giant incorrect story, which is like, what's the game plan? Like, is he gonna marry her and like never like tell her any of this shit? Anyway, the point is, Ben Stiller is the honest, good guy in this movie. Matt Dillon plays the detective that's like the lying scumbag that Mary's falling for because she doesn't know he's lying. A whole bunch of twists and turns. Jeffrey Tambor is in it. He gets fucking eaten by a snake. And it turns out essentially the whole like movie devolves into every single person is obsessed with Mary, and it's like 10 different people competing for like her affection, and Ben Stiller triumphs.
He does. And that was a good summary.
Thank you.
I guess a few, before I go into any deeper meaning, a few things I wanted to mention that I wrote down, and mostly from the beginning that I wrote down before So, first of all, obviously, 16-year-old Ben Stiller, hilarious. They put a wig on him. He's got braces. Sure. It's perfect. So funny. And there's a funny moment where he like knocks on Mary's house, and Keith David opens the door, and Ben Stiller clearly is surprised, and like he does this like perfect look where he like looks at him and he looks up at the house and he like looks back and he looks like bewildered, which sounds like corny, I know, describing it, but it's just played perfectly. And of course he gets beat up with a baseball he gets beat up when he tries to present the baseball to her brother behind his ear, which is hilarious. Classic Ben Stiller beat up we get multiple times in this movie.
True.
And this also very funny, before the scrotum incident happens, while he's peeing and looking out the window, and he sees a bird. Which we should mention, the whole reason this started was because he was looking at a bird.
True.
He's like very like happily like peeing and looking at a bird, and the song is playing. Why do birds? He's like, he looks. The look on his face is like priceless. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, but it's.
No, yeah, because it like unfocuses and we see there's like women changing or something in the background, and they thought he was
Cameron
looking
Diaz
at
is
them.
changing. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So that's what he gets. So he gets startled, and then the
Hmm.
scrotum thing happens. And yeah. So yeah, that was just about the first part. As far as one thing we talked about in Meet the Parents was the outfits. I feel like there were some pretty good outfits in this movie, especially given that the parts that happen up north. Ben Stiller wears some cool jackets and that sort of thing. I know this isn't really relevant to the movie, but since we mentioned it before with Meet the Parents, I thought I'd be like, Ben Stiller.
Right. I honestly didn't notice for this movie, but I'll take your word for it.
It was definitely more subtle, obviously, but it was good. So, and then I guess more generally, of course, this movie is a classic. Everything goes wrong for Ben Stiller, domino effect, which
it's his genre. It's his genre, bro.
He owns it. He owns it. No one else has been able to do it as good as him, I think.
Right.
But yeah, so the last thing I wrote towards the end of the movie was, I feel like, have you ever seen a Jerry Lewis movie? The classic.
Yeah, of course. Dude,
Yeah.
The Nutty Professor is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Oh yeah. No, Jerry Lewis has so many good movies, but I kind of feel like, especially in this movie, maybe it applies to the larger Ben Stiller thing we just talked about, but his movies or this movie, I guess, just for now, feels like a new age kind of Jerry Stiller movie, where it has this very like relatively tame plot line, where it's like boy meets girl, misses girl, goes on a quest to meet her, get back with her, and then of course hijinks ensue, and there's a lot of physical comedy, that sort of thing. It kind of feels like a new age extreme version of that, which is, I guess, the whole point of the Farrelly Brothers comedy, is like to just make everything super extreme and gross.
Right.
So I don't know. I just kind of noticed the format was kind of similar in that sense. So, and I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe it is intentional, but I don't know. Kind of cool if it is, because Jerry Stiller is awesome.
Jerry Lewis. Though Jerry Stiller is also very awesome.
Yeah, obviously Jerry Stiller in the Heartbreak Kid, which will
hilarious.
So Jerry Lewis is awesome. Yeah, that's all my notes. Now, when you mentioned the plot, or went through the plot, you talked about the ending, and I feel like, I don't know, it really did feel like a cop-out ending, didn't it? Because I feel like the kind of overarching plot that you get to in that climactic scene where they're all in her apartment, they're like, "You're not leaving till you make a decision," I feel like that was up to that point. It's like, okay, this is kind of interesting, like a unconventional kind of flip the script kind of take about like man's infatuation with woman and that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a deeper sort of thing happening here. And then like the Ben Stiller ending happened, and I was like kind of surprised. I didn't know they were gonna just kind of take that left turn and finish it that way. I don't know if you have any similar conflicting thoughts, but
I did think it was gonna be like
Ben Stiller's called Something About Mary, so it's like, I don't know. Sorry.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, I thought it was gonna be like Ben Stiller's like the good guy who like, because he's like, you know what, Mary, I brought your ex-boyfriend who's like cool and nice and wasn't involved in any of this crazy bullshit that happened in the movie. You should just be with him. And that was going to be like Ben Stiller's like ending, where he's like, he made the right decision by taking the high ground or whatever, because he knew he was just as bad as the other guy, which obviously isn't true. But then
that's also bullshit. Sorry, I just want to say, is that supposed to be like shown as bullshit because right after he comes out and he's like weeping?
Oh yeah, true. Loudly. So true. Well, yeah, that's when you realize it was like, that's not what they're gonna do, and then she comes out and is like, "Oh, I still love you." It's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
It was. I wasn't watching it for like the Ben Stiller ending, I guess. I mean, I guess.
No, I agree.
maybe it is kind of just like primitively satisfying. You know what I mean? Just 'cause,
I think
like,
it is.
you get what you want. So
I think at the end of the day, that sort of ending just tests better with audiences than Ben Stiller weeping and driving away and the credits roll. You know,
right, though that
Um,
could be funny, honestly.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't really have any big problems with it. I just think it's worth a discussion. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just about the comedy.
I
And
think
yeah,
if we're transitioning to a more general thoughts
Yeah.
about the movie and summary, I suppose, I guess like I thought it was pretty funny. I was surprised at how little I remembered about it when I was watching it.
Mhm.
So I was like, it still felt reasonably fresh. Obviously, I remembered like the nutsack scene, the jizz on his ear scene, and then she uses it as hair gel. One of the few roles I've seen Matt Dillon in, and I actually was like, yeah, he's pretty funny. He was good in Yumi and Dupree, but he was kind of like the straight man in that. And I don't remember anything about Outsiders, and I think that's the only shit I've seen him in. But
Yeah.
pretty good performances all around.
Yeah.
But there was just I felt because it was long as shit too. I think it was over 2 hours. I'm gonna look it
Yeah.
up real quick. Yeah, it was 2
Maybe
hours
it's
and 10 minutes. I remember watching it with my brother, and we were talking about how like there's like just too much of this movie that is not funny and it's just like really dumb and should be cut out. And we were talking about how we would make like our own fan edit of the movie that's just like
Well, isn't
probably
it
like
2 hours?
30 minutes shorter.
Yeah. No, I mean I would probably agree, but when I would never pirate the movie, but someone I know did, and when they did, it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, exactly like you're saying, but it said extended cut in the file name.
Interesting.
So is the 2 hours 10 minutes an extended version of a shorter movie? Because I feel like that too. So I don't know. We'll have to look into
Maybe.
that.
All I know is the version I watched, which wasn't a pirated version, was 2 hour. It was over 2 hours, and I remember thinking like, for what this is, it's too long, and I can specifically pinpoint the reasons it's too
Yeah.
long. Like, it's been a little while, so I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember there was definitely some specific bits that I personally didn't think were very funny and could be cut without in any way sacrificing any important detail that would come back later or
Yeah.
any element of the story. It would just be as if it never happened.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the moment I started thinking that, I looked at the title and I saw extended in all caps, and I was like, okay, I'll let it slide because this is an extended
Well, this is what your
right?
friend told you, right?
Right. Yeah, of course. So, who's to say?
Right.
But one moment,
Well, I
I'd say
have
the biggest.
it right behind me. I can prove that I have it on DVD.
Oh, I believe you, and I could prove that I have it on DVD too in another room. But I'm not going to stop the podcast to go do that.
Obviously, it's not worth it.
Speaking of DVDs, guys, Suicide Squad Blu-ray. There's 0 people listening right now, so this is the worst possible time to do it. I'd say a big moment where I thought about that was when the detective Pat Healy goes to Miami, and it like centers on him in Miami for like 25 minutes, and I was like, "What's going on here?" It's kind of
Is that when he's meeting her, right?
That's when he flies down there, meets Jeffrey Tambor's character, spies on her for the first time, learns about all the things she likes. I understand the point of learning all the things she likes because later on he uses it. But like this, I feel like there's a lot of like, he gets to Miami, he drives around, he goes to Jeffrey Tambor. Let's be honest. You could cut Jeffrey Tambor out of this movie.
Yeah.
Easily.
Don't know if he's... I like him as an actor.
No, I love
hilarious
him
in Arrested Development.
Yeah.
But is he necessary for There's Something About Mary? Not sure. I honestly... him being eaten by his snake is like... just almost... just makes me feel uncomfortable seeing it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
didn't laugh. I was like...
I
Oh,
was like... Jesus, why is this in the movie?
Yeah. No, and I'm sure if you went in and cut all that out, you could easily save 25 minutes.
Dude, something I thought was not worth keeping, but also potentially hard to cut out, is like the weird original songs performed by those two guys that happened a few times with the movie.
Well,
And
at
it's
first I
like-
was like, okay, this is kind of cute and pulpy, but then it feels like they only put it in just so they could do the end bit where they get shot.
Right. It's just like, dude, please. The issue is it's like a lot, or I don't know about a lot, but some of them, of their singing, overlaps with like actual scenes that you'd need to keep. So I don't know.
Well, you could keep
I'm
the
sure someone
intro.
could do it.
Yeah, you could keep the intro because, like, okay, whatever, it's the introduction to the movie. They say the movie name, I think.
Dude, the insane, like, fucking 5-minute long, intricate claymation intro,
I wrote that
which
down,
probably
actually.
took, like, as long to make as the fucking movie. It's like, why did they do this?
Who knows, man?
I enjoyed it, but it seems like
kidding, I didn't.
so much effort.
Next time I would skip it.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was good to see once. I certainly had no memory of it from my first watch.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
I'm down to go to the rating, unless you have more to say.
you know, I'm down to go to the rating, but here's the thing. Should we one day create a filmatic cut of There's Something About Mary to save people
Yes,
30
it needs to
35
happen.
minutes? Guys, comment below if you want to see that.
Dude, comment the exact length you think that the filmatic cut of There's Something About Mary should be.
And the first
And if it's
person
the
to do
exact
that-
number I'm thinking of, you'll get the Blu-ray.
I'll say if you comment at all, you comment the
word.
runtime, any runtime, you get the Blu-ray.
Or anything. Doesn't have to be
Right.
runtime.
Just just do something. Signal to me that you're there. Show me you have a pulse.
Oh, Colton, if you're listening right now, we are unironically interested in getting you in the next episode, which
We
I
are.
think is
Night
the
at the
absurd
Museum.
comedy. Oh, is it Night at the Museum? Okay, perfect. It's an everyman
Yeah.
movie. Who doesn't want to watch Night at the
It's
Museum?
an entry level Ben Stiller series. So, Colton,
Probably going to be one of the most watched Summer of Stiller episodes, I would imagine.
I think it will be. We need to really do well on that one, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you have some free time coming up so we can work on that.
Yeah, I can watch the movies within like the next week.
Yeah,
So,
we could watch and record it in the next week, you and me. So
let's do it.
let's do it. All right.
Are we going to try and get other people besides Colton who we actively are searching
down.
for?
The
Are we
problem
going
is
to
it's
get
just
other
hard.
like true the coordination?
It's just hard. It's easy because like in the past, it's like, oh, we're doing an episode on the new Marvel movie. Who's seen it? Oh, two people have seen it. Oh yeah, get on. You know what I mean? Versus like, all right, you need to watch Reality Bites. You need to watch these movies from like 25 years ago that most people don't have access to because it's not on
Right.
streaming. The rating of There's Something About Mary.
True.
What are we thinking?
I need to look at the other ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 6.5, maybe. I'm thinking because that's what I gave Meet the Fockers, which is kind of like middle of the road, entertaining Ben Stiller movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say 6.5 as well.
Oh, word. Dude, we're really right neck and neck with each other today.
Yeah.
Okay. Along came Polly. Huh.
Along came Polly.
I mean, after... I don't know why I started that sentence with after. I said after and then had like several seconds where I'm trying to think of what after was supposed to be in reference to. I don't know what I was going with there, but the point is I think Along Came Polly is probably the most watched in my life of probably like not just his rom-coms, but maybe more of his just like his PG-13 comedies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I feel like I don't know why, but I watched
also
that one a
remember
lot growing
seeing
up.
that. Like I said, I remember seeing that CD in the classic Big Black DVD case. Of course, it was big and it was a big, but there was only like one page of CD, and the rest were like pirated from my uncle. I'm only saying that because I'm sure the statute of limitations protects him because that was like in 2000. So,
So trust me, he was getting the bad end of the deal there.
yeah. So
Dude,
yeah,
240 cam footage with hard-coded Lebanese subtitles.
God. But I remember seeing that CD and being so young, that like really young, and being my only reference for the word Polly was like Polly want a crack. And I thought it was like a movie about a bird, and being like, man, why can't I watch that movie? Because it seemed like a kid's movie, and obviously,
Right.
so I never saw it. But it was in the Ben Stiller Family CD Hall of Fame,
Of
so
course.
I had big expectations.
The DVD case is like Ben Stiller, Jennifer Aniston, and now now featuring Rodolfo the blind ferret. I thought that was
Yeah, they
hilarious
really
as a kid. I was like, oh, I want to watch that.
advertised that fucking ferret.
It was in it for like combined like 45 seconds.
Although there are some pretty funny, I say funny, but like only if you think stuff that we find funny of like stupid comedy of it just like hitting things.
Dude, her like pulling it on a leash and it slamming into the trash
The
can.
trash can. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I guess we should jump into the plot, right?
Yes, you can do that one. It takes a bit out of you doing like the
It
plot
does.
of a,
It does.
you know?
Okay. Enter Ben Stiller's character, Ruben Pfeffer. He's an insurance claims agent.
He's a hazard analyst or something like that, right?
There you go. Yeah, it's something risk.
Yeah,
analysis?
risk analyst. She calls him
There
an
you go.
analysist or whatever.
True. And we open. He is getting married to his wife, Lisa, and they go on honeymoon to a Caribbean island, and everything's all hunky dory. I don't know why I just said the word hunky dory. Maybe the first time in my life I've said hunky dory.
True, that is actually hilarious.
So all's going well. All's going well. Let's go scuba diving. But Ben Stiller.
Are you
I
for
like that they
scuba?
play. Yeah,
Dude.
Let's talk about Hank Azaria because he was gonna come up in the Night in the Museum. We're gonna bring it up now.
Night at the Museum. He's gonna come up in Mystery Men.
Yeah,
He's gonna come up in the '90s Godzilla episode that we're gonna do later after
Yes.
Summer of Stiller.
I said this before. Manny, if you're out there, Manny knows this. We've had a long discussion about this, but Hank Azaria has to be one of the most underrated character actors of the last who knows how long. I don't know of many character actors, but he's a great actor and a great character actor and one of the funniest guys I've ever seen in entertainment. Through
Had the
either
pleasure of working with.
had the pleasure of working with
You wish, dude.
Hank. If you're dude, my dreams.
Hank, we're searching for you. We want you to come feature on the Godzilla episode as in character as the animal.
And then a Simpsons movie episode in character as Apu. Except you don't do that anymore, do you?
True.
So, yeah, rip. But no, I
in
mean,
character as David from Friends.
that's what I'm saying. He's been in so many things. There's a very slim chance people haven't seen something with him in it, but just don't know that it's obviously him.
Yeah.
So he's just he holds the entertainment industry together, you know.
Yeah.
So,
True. Isn't he also in
Anyway,
Heat? Dude, if I
No
remember
way.
correctly, he's in Heat. He's like the dude, he's like some guy's he's like kind of a sleazy guy, I think.
yeah, he's in Heat as
Dude,
Alan
that's insane.
Marcino, or
Right.
something. Yeah,
Marciano.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. Wow, I did not know that. He's still. Oh, so he's still doing Simpsons because he's the voice of so many other characters, but
Right.
Mo, Chief Wiggum.
Really? I actually did not know that.
Yeah, he is.
So he's like one of the main voice
Yeah.
actors in Simpsons. He's in like
Because-
every episode.
Once you know it's him and you next to watch it, you'll totally you'll be like, it'll click.
Right.
He needs to be in more things, even more things. He needs to be in bigger things, I should say. I want him to be like, I want Hank Azaria to finally get his due, you know, because I think more people should know his name, you know.
I agree.
But
I feel like he was a household name I always heard my dad talking about as a little kid, and I was like, it has a good ring to it. You got to admit,
it does.
It's like one word, Hank Azaria, you know. And then I didn't really know who he was until probably like second watch of Friends or something, when like my dad's like, yeah, you know, Hank Azaria, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then you see him in other stuff, and you start to piece it together. You're like, yeah, this guy is fucking funny.
Yeah. You know. Obviously, God, he's so good in Land of the Museum too, which we'll talk about eventually. But
yeah, true. I mean, when I watched Night at the Museum 2, no, I was the furthest away from knowing about Hank Azaria that I've ever been.
But he was my favorite part of it.
Or, I need to rewatch because I haven't seen it since theaters.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. It's funny because he's in the most. God, I still remember, burned into my brain. The most marketed part of that movie when it came out was, or maybe either when it came out or when it was on TV or something, when they were advertising it, was the scene where they have Cookie Monster and like Oscar the Grouch and Darth Vader. They're all like in the museum and he's like talking to them. That was like the most marketed scene for the movie, just for people to come to be like, how's Darth Vader in this movie? I don't know if you remember this, but yeah.
Yeah, his like costume is at the museum, the Smithsonian.
Yeah, and there's no lines for any of these characters. He's just like staring at them and like riffing about them. And as we'll talk about, that's what's so great about Night at the Museum, that one specifically, is it feels like there's a lot of riffing going on. Because you have the, I'm not mistaken, the Brundon scene is in that movie? Or is it
no, it is, one? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So you have that one, which clearly feels like improv to me. Almost all of the scenes I've seen with Hank Azaria and Ben Stiller feel like, it just feels like they're spitballing. And again, also Hank Azaria was on the Ben Stiller show. So.
They're clearly buddies. I mean,
yeah, exactly. So, also Hank Azaria is like jacked,
dude.
Both in Night at the Museum and in this.
He's so fucking fit in Along Came Polly, and is so funny. He has like some of the funniest lines in the movie.
Yeah, and he's only in it for like 2 minutes, like at the beginning and the end. Yeah. He calls Ruben Lubin.
Dude, and his like complete earnestness, like how at the end he's genuinely like, I feel we should go through the story first before we like start talking, just because otherwise it's just like we're trying to fill in too much.
Okay, yeah. So he catches his newlywed wife having intercourse with the with Hank Azaria's character Claude, the scuba instructor, and she tells him that she's gonna live on the island with Claude, thus leaving him behind. So he's obviously extremely dejected and sad and goes back home. Where
classic.
It turns out, yeah.
I was just gonna say it starts classic Ben Stiller. Everything is piling up, going wrong.
Exactly.
Not only does she leave him for the scuba instructor on the first day of their honeymoon, as he's leaving, he crashes the car and has to ride on the back of Claude's Vespa to the airport. It's like very awkward.
Yeah, I never thought you'd sympathize that much with like the guy who's sleeping with his wife. You know what I mean? Hank Azaria just plays him so well. So like you said, earnestly and like naive.
Yeah.
The way he's
like, Ruben, I would give you a ride.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes back to New York, and I think it's kind of a funny scene where like everyone already knows about it at his office. Alec Baldwin plays his boss.
Hilarious.
Pretty well. Yeah.
Mazel, good things.
Good things, yeah. Funny scene in the bathroom where he's like, just, again, I don't know if this is funny to other people, but he's just farting as he's pissing, I guess.
Oh, dude, I think even funnier is him rubbing Ben Stiller's ear, like, constantly. Like, yeah, Ben Stiller, like, wipes his ear on his shoulder, and then he, like, just does it again, like, doesn't even care. Yeah. He's just, like, twirling his earlobe.
Yeah, and it's good. Like you said, he plays it so well. Perfect roles where it's like Alec Baldwin as the dominant, like stinky asshole, and like Ben Stiller as the afraid and like you said,
The
guy who's
office
getting.
grunt.
Yeah, exactly. So really good there. Good things. So he introduces. I guess the whole point of that is he introduces the secondhand plot to the movie with the guy he's trying to get life insurance for, who's like pretty
Right.
funny. He's just like jumping off buildings and shit,
Yeah.
doing things that'll clearly not get him insured. The CEO of like a multi-million-dollar company, I think.
He's the cool billionaire.
Exactly. There are no such thing as cool billionaires. So no comparison there.
Yeah.
So he goes to an art gallery. Okay, of course we have to talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Obviously.
who's like possibly the highlight of this movie. I would say possibly.
He invented the term "shart" in this movie.
And invented spanking in this movie.
Yeah, true. I was like, no way. This movie is like that pioneering. There's no way spanking during sex was invented by Philip Seymour Hoffman in 2004.
Maybe it's the
It
first
can't
time it
be
was
true.
talked about, like in the
I guess. But
mainstream
Ben Stiller was like,
sense.
he'd never heard of it. He's like, huh? Spanking?
And then when he did it, the way he did it was so funny.
It was just like a little tap.
Literally a swat.
Yeah.
Swat. I thought
no, it's
the way
just
he
a
did
crick in the wrist.
You heard it's gone.
It went away. Yeah, dude. He has so many like, he's just like
That's
these
perfect
mannerisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman has got a great B plot in this movie that I feel like maybe could have been a little more prominent. Is like him being a washed up actor who's like doing a community play and is like
True.
very fed up with it, and throughout gives Ben Stiller like terrible advice up till the point at the end where he's like, "Stop taking my advice." Like,
yeah, true.
yeah, yeah, just great in this. Rest in peace, Philip Seymour Hoffman. So,
True.
what was I? Oh yeah, so he meets a girl he knew in junior high or middle school or whatever they're calling it these days.
Nice. Yeah, you can tell this is one of the ones we've watched recently.
Yes, you can.
We're like little zingers about the exact scripts, and then Reality Bites were like, "Is his dad dying or something?"
Shows how much we here at Filmatic appreciate movies.
Right.
So he meets this girl, Polly Prince, played by Jennifer Aniston, and they begin dating, which includes some things that the risk-averse Ben Stiller's character isn't really used to. He has IBS and he eats ethnic food, which leads to a funny scene where he gets invited back up to her apartment and has to shit extremely much, and goes to her bathroom and like floods it and shit, trying to use the bathroom.
Oh, dude. Yeah. It's so brutal.
It is.
He
It's
like
hard to
shits.
watch.
Oh, dude, he's like his acting where he's like shitting and you hear like poop noises and he's like wincing every time because her bathroom is like adjacent to her kitchen where she is. Realizes they're at a toilet. It's literally like just the fucking Ben Stiller effect. Everything that can go wrong happens to him. Out of toilet paper. Dude, he's like glancing around the room to try and see what he can wipe with, and he briefly looks at the ferret on the floor. Very good. But he like he's like, no. Wipes with like
he was
her.
just going to do it when he looked at the ferret.
Oh, dude.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a moment.
Yeah.
He wipes with like this hand-woven towel from her grandmother. Clogs the toilet. It floods the floor. Also, he put on the shower to mask the sounds of his pooping, and like Polly notices steam like flooding out of the underside of the door, and she's like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Oh, and then he ends up trying to plunge after he clogs the toilet with the towel. He tries to plunge it
He's like,
with the $200. Yeah. Dude, yeah, that was actually hilarious. Him like pleading. He's like, if you make this water go down, I'll bend on my knee and serve you for all of eternity.
Yeah.
He has to plunge it with her loofah that we had just seen in the previous scene that she spent $200 on, and now he's plunging it with his poop.
He does get her a new one later, though.
True, this time it's from Finland.
It is. It's from like Finland or something. And God, like the Ben Stiller isms in this movie are just peak. They really are. Like,
Some kind of algae, like seaweed like plant.
I was literally thinking about that when I was watching it. Like just perfect, like the exact same like delivery. So good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then also do salsa dancing, which classically is not good at and doesn't want to do. Then they have of course, tries to spank her, but then has a sex scene with her, which ends with him yelling 50 as he climaxes, which is
True. He was counting down from 5 minutes.
You gotta last 5 minutes at least. 242. Yeah.
Also, even funnier is when she's like with her friend at work, and she's like, "Have you ever heard of a guy yelling 50 when he climaxes?" And her friend's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then walks away.
Cuts away. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
funny.
that actress was Veruca Salt's mom from
That's
the Freddie Highmore. Yeah.
Dude, the whole time I was trying to place where she was from. Oh my god.
No, wait, maybe it wasn't Veruca Salt. Was Veruca Salt the spoiled rich girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was her mom. It was the blonde girl that turns into a blueberry.
Oh, true. You're right. She's chewing gum the whole time. Yeah. I was trying to. Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you figured it out.
Violet, of course.
Yeah. What else? Okay, so I guess unless I'm missing any other major comedy bits, his wife returns from the island.
True.
He walks into, in the middle of things going really well because he learned how to salsa dance and stuff. Comes back to the apartment with Polly, and Lisa is there. It's really awkward, and she wants to get back to normal. She wants to put all that in the past, and Ben Stiller obviously is conflicted on what to do. He, it's a very risk-averse person, puts them in the Risk Master analyzer thing that he has on his computer for work, and determines that Polly is the one to go with, which leads to some conflict as Polly finds it later, and of course gets upset, storms away.
Because it's literally like a pros and cons list about her versus his ex-wife. I guess technically it's still his wife, but
right.
Yeah.
So then he's like, all right, maybe yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say the exact same thing happens to Jennifer Aniston's character in Friends. Literally, I guess Friends spoiler alert. I don't even remember what this is. Yeah. It's like, I think one of the times she's getting back together with Ross or something, and he makes a pros and cons list about her, and then she finds it, and the exact same thing happens. And it's like, this can't be a coincidence that they do the same thing with the same actress.
Maybe it's an homage to Friends.
Yeah, maybe.
Major plot point. So then he thinks maybe he'll go back to Lisa, maybe not. And then he finally decides, based on words from his father that are given to Philip Seymour Hoffman's character after he ruins the play, that Polly's the one for him. And he goes and finds her, and they get back together. I think that's about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he eats dirty nuts.
True, that was pretty funny.
Anyway,
because, of course, yeah. So, what do we think?
I liked it. Fun little ride.
It was entertaining. It was, I think, I don't know. I flip flop if it was more entertaining than Heartbreak Kid, which we'll talk about. I think it was more cohesive than Heartbreak Kid.
I think it was more like a vanilla.
Yeah.
rom-com. You know what I mean? Kind of more just straight.
Moving away from, it really does feel like the in between of Something About Mary and Heartbreak Kid.
Interesting.
Really, or maybe not in between, but more so, the progression is Heartbreak Mary going towards Heartbreak Kid's side of the spectrum, and this is the middle of that spectrum, going this way. Would be a better way to put it, maybe. Not that I don't like it, but I agree. This is definitely one you could probably more so, watch with your family, sort of thing, than Something About Mary, or even Heartbreak Kid. Some parts of that are pretty out there. The same directors as Something About Mary, so
True.
I
I
thought it was
think
fun.
I give it a 7. I personally think I enjoyed it more than There's Something About Mary.
I feel like I liked the gags and Something About Mary a little bit more, but I
Fair enough.
appreciated this as a movie altogether more. And at the same time, I don't know if I want to give it a 7 because I feel like I gave Cable Guy a 7. I don't know
True.
if this is
They're
Cable
kind
Guy
of no. You
tier.
gave Cable Guy a 7.5.
Oh, I did. Okay, that works perfectly. Yeah, I'll give this a 7 then.
Okay, dude, we're just giving the same scores except Cable Guy.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to say.
That's easy enough. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on in it. You know what I mean? I think his work life is pretty funny. Alec Baldwin and the Australian guy are
Yes.
pretty entertaining. Philip Seymour Hoffman, funny story. Obviously, his relationship with Jennifer Aniston is funny and entertaining, and she has her own funny stuff too going on. And also, we didn't even get to some of the funniest bits are with Hank Azaria's return at the end of the movie, where the movie ends with him getting back together with Jennifer Aniston in the street, and then cuts to them, the same place that he went on his honeymoon with in the first scene, or at the beginning of the movie, I guess. Now he's with Jennifer Aniston, and Hank Azaria walks up, and he's like, Lubin, it's so good to see you. And like, he's like so genuine. He like stole this man's wife. Like, you're essentially almost, potentially ruined his life. Didn't, but did this horrible shit. And he's like, genuinely, I'm so happy to see you. Like, you must like me. And Ben Stiller does. And Hank Azaria's like, he's like, not good, Lubin. Lisa broke my heart. And he's like he has, like, Ben Stiller could sympathize. Like, oh yeah, Lisa.
Yeah,
Like, Ben Stiller would feel bad.
him.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
And also just his French accent is so funny too.
It
seems so like pointless, like, but it adds so much to it.
Yeah. No, Hank Azaria voices are just legendarily funny. Wait till we get to Mystery Men. Go fuck yourself. I can't even do it, but it's like, go fuck yourself. Like, get to that. There's also a funny bit before we move on. I forgot to mention Philip Seymour Hoffman playing basketball. Every time he shoots, he's just yelling something different. Like, oh God, of course I'm blanking now, but like,
Raindrop,
Iceman. Yeah,
yeah, true.
And each time it just gets funnier.
And he never makes a basket.
No, never.
Oh, just a hilarious scene where him and Ben Stiller having this. It's like their faces up close, having this conversation on the way to the art gallery where Ben Stiller inevitably meets Polly, and Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is being tokenly crass, and like that zooms out and shows that they're in an elevator full of like 15 other people, and he was just like loudly talking about like sex or something like that. And then he just finished it off with him like he's also wearing sunglasses. Everyone's dressed in like black, like what's it called, like semi-formal, or like what's the one that's like casual?
Business casual,
something like that. They're all wearing like black, like dress code
blazers,
kind of like yeah, exactly. And he's wearing like this like bright green jacket or something like that, and like sunglasses in the elevator. And he's just like, "Oh, I'm so horny!" Just like yells in this crowd of people.
Right. That is too good. He has a lot of good.
It's funny.
Another funny line God, the only thing I've written down is in quotation marks Spaniard.
What the hell is that from?
Okay, so you don't remember. So when they go to the club for the first time, and
Hmm.
the guy at the club
Yeah, I do
is like
remember.
dirty dancing with Jennifer Aniston's character,
Mm.
and this is before Ben Stiller knows that they're just like friends and he's gay. Um, he's like storming away, and Jennifer Aniston's like, "What? What? Come on!" And he's like, "No, I saw what you were doing. I saw what that Spaniard was doing." Something like that, and it was just the way he
She's
said
like,
it was
first
so
of all,
funny.
he's Cuban.
Yeah, no, it was just the delivery of that was too good. I had to write it down. Also, at the beginning of the movie, no, sorry, that's Heartbreak Kid. I was gonna say jumping ahead a little bit. Beginning of Heartbreak Kid, when he's at the other person's wedding, the father is Hank Schrader from Breaking
Yeah,
Bad.
true. So true.
It was so like obtusely obvious to me when he stood up, and I was like, "Hey, that's Hank Schrader!" For like a full like,
Yeah, the Heartbreak Kid had some funny side characters.
definitely. But as far as Along Came Polly, yeah, no, it's good. I definitely probably would rewatch it over Something About Mary, though it would be close. I think it would depend on my mood. Versus if I want something kind of more outrageously funny, I'd probably watch Something About Mary. Versus an overall encompassing good entertaining movie, I'd watch Along Came Polly.
That's fair
I
enough.
think.
Hold on, I'm gonna send you a funny screenshot on Discord.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I agree exactly what you're saying.
See the screenshot. It's all these people standing on the elevator as Justin described before.
Right.
Yeah, man, Philip Seymour Hoffman, just too good. All right, you think we're ready?
Heartbreak Kid.
Heartbreak Kid.
I think, just gonna say it right now, Heartbreak Kid was my favorite of the three.
Okay, I would say, although my positions for, I don't know, it's hard. I guess my original thoughts out the gate was Something About Mary, Along Came Polly, Heartbreak Kid.
Interesting.
But now I'm wondering if I should flip the first two, but I don't know. I guess we'll get into it and discuss how we came to that, but let's see. So Heartbreak Kid came out in 2007, 3 years after 3 years after Along Came Polly. Of course, at this point, Ben Stiller is almost completely gone gray.
True.
So you know it's a late 2000s movie.
But he's
it's
still
a
playing like
remake.
the same age and character of just like
He is.
it's just Ben Stiller. That's what he's.
He's been, yeah. I mean, but of course, in this movie, we get the incredible addition of Jerry Stiller as a side character.
Oh, as Ben Stiller's father in the movie.
Yes.
So funny.
So many funny lines and scenes. I mean, it just crushes it whenever he's on screen.
Yeah.
Love the guy. Peace. But basically, should we jump into the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, I guess I'll start. So, this time Ben Stiller plays. Watching these all back to back. Ben Stiller's like common first name always gets mixed up for me, but this movie he plays Eddie Cantro, who owns a sports shop in San Francisco, and he's single.
Always
I believe
being single.
Right. Well, he's attending the wedding of
his ex-wife.
His ex-wife. So
his ex-fiance, right?
Yeah, right. And of course we get Hank Schrader as the dad, and he sits at the kids' table. Except it's not the kids' table; it's the singles table.
Yeah, dude, it's like only Ben Stiller would get himself in this scenario.
Yeah.
He's like, is this the right table? It's like a bunch of like fucking like toddlers and teenagers. And like, yeah, it's the singles table. He's the only single adult that was invited to this wedding. We also get his like best friend, played by like Rob Corddry from Hot Tub Time Machine, who is so funny in this movie. Like Hank Schrader's, we're calling him Hank Schrader, standing up. He's like giving like the father of the bride speech, and he's like, it's the first time my daughter's ever like been with a guy I didn't think was a complete asshole, and everyone's laughing. And Ben Stiller, obviously the comedy's Ben Stiller is obviously her ex, so clearly Hank Schrader's just calling him an asshole. And Rob Corddry like stands up. Everyone's sitting. He like stands up in the middle of the audience, turns around, and like starts yelling like, "Hey, that's you! He's talking about you!" Like yelling at Ben Stiller. Oh, it's so funny.
Man, that was hilarious. Yeah. I think even it's like double whammy because either before or after Hank Schrader gets up.
Dude, just using his full name.
The girl, I forget her name, but the girl who's getting married is like giving her speech, and she's like, "I'm so glad I met Brian," or whatever this asshole's name is, and of course I had to kiss a few frogs before I got to the prince. Like, got to Ben Stiller's face at the kids' table. Just like,
yeah, true. And
so
the guy
good.
also turns around to react at that, to like laugh and point.
Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, so he goes through that. It's very clear he's ambivalent about relationships and whatnot. So cut to a few days later, possibly right after actually, because isn't he also wearing the same? I couldn't tell. It looked like he was wearing the same thing. Either that, or he was just also wearing a black trench coat. I don't know.
Dude,
But shortly after this, he's walking down the street in San Francisco, and he sees a purse snatching right in front of him, and he unsuccessfully tries to stop the guy from getting away on his bike. And he meets the girl whose purse got stolen, named Lila, and he's kind of into her. So they start dating, and she tells Ben Stiller that the place where she works, I forget how she phrases it, but obviously this is important for later, but the company with whom she's working for wants her to move to Germany to continue working, and the only way she can stay behind is if she was married. So this gets Ben Stiller the idea of proposing to her, and despite being hesitant about it, he does it, and he marries her. So
And this is very early in the relationship. I think it's like,
yeah, I think 6 weeks, maybe.
yeah, something. I was gonna say, I think under 2 months.
Yeah, definitely under 2 months. And of course, he's hesitant to do it. There's like a funny scene with Jerry Stiller and his friend where they're like convincing him to do it, and of course, Jerry Stiller just kills it.
Dude, Jerry Stiller, seeing this like 70-something-year-old man, like his catchphrase is like just always referring to having sex as like crushing puss or some shit like that. And like hearing this like 70-year-old man also just knowing Jerry Stiller, it's just so funny the way he delivers it.
Yeah.
And Ben Stiller's reaction to it, where he's like, why are you saying that?
What is it about the crushing? What is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
fantastic chemistry between the two.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, they get married, and then they're going to their honeymoon in Cabos, Mexico, and things start to pop up for Ben Stiller. He finds her in the car constantly singing, to be very incessant, and weird things start to pop up. They stop in a room on the way down to Mexico, and have intercourse for the first time. Let's keep that joke going. And she's like super like aggressive and like, I don't know. It's pretty funny.
There's a word for it.
Yeah. What is it?
Kinky.
Right. Well, also Jerry Stiller says later, when your wife wants to cuck you, or something like that. He's like, when your wife wants to cut you, you get cucked. Or like the way he says it is like so funny. I can't even. replicate it. But
Yeah.
yeah. So of course that happens. Then he finds out she has a deviated septum, which later he finds out is from a past drug addiction. And what else? Yeah, they get there.
She's.
Do you want to pick it up? Because
I was just gonna say she's just like horrible. Like well, that's the intent we're supposed to see, is that she's just like unpleasant. She's like arguing and like just like, I don't know. They're not really getting along well.
Yeah.
And they're out on the beach, and she's putting on like tanning oil, and he's like, "Nah, you don't understand. The ozone's like weaker here. It's like the sun's strong in Mexico. You're gonna get sunburned." And she's like childishly like, "Well, just because you said that, now I'm going to, like, even more." And so she doesn't use sunscreen and gets like this horrendous burn, and is essentially trapped and confined in her room for like the majority of the rest of the movie because of this sunburn, which lends itself to the plot line where Ben Stiller, out on his own adventures while she's in the room, meets a different young woman who's in Cabo for a family reunion, who he kind of, I guess, starts to fall in love with, even though he's there on his honeymoon. And she's portrayed by Michelle Monaghan, I think it's pronounced. And there's a whole scene where they meet, and he accidentally ends up meeting her whole family, and he becomes like friends with them, but none of them know he's married, obviously. And this is where we start to see Ben Stiller kind of just play like the perfect asshole, where he's just like, because the thing is, even though
she's like she's terrible, and he rushed into the mistake of marrying so soon, I think he, by not being honest, it comes off pretty poorly. You know?
Oh, definitely. Maybe, and also, I feel like,
I was gonna say maybe that's the best way I could put it. I don't know if you had
right. Yeah. No, I agree. I was just also gonna say, I think she didn't seem that bad. Like, first of all, singing in the car, okay. Okay.
Well, again, this is something Jerry Stiller points out when he calls him.
Oh yeah, you're so true. Ben Stiller like calls his dad, and he's like, "No, Dad, you don't understand. It's bad." She's like singing in the car, rough sex, and Jerry Stiller's like, "What are you talking about? You're listing good things, Ben."
You're telling me on your honeymoon, your wife constantly wants to have sex. She's singing a lot. She wants to get hammered in the bar. Just like listing all these things that very clearly, like
those are your issues, right? I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like her and Ben Stiller had some like unpleasant interactions where you're like, yeah, this is cringe, obviously. And she starts to like, you know, kind of bitchy towards him about like the sunscreen, stuff like that.
Her job,
but it's like a lot. It seems like, well, yeah, but it's like he's handling it so poorly.
Yeah.
Like, it gets revealed that her job as an environmental scientist is volunteer work where there's no money coming in. Mm-hmm. And he's like upset about that because he thought they were gonna have a dual income. And we're getting like details about her past, like like her drug addiction, and the initial purse stealing that Ben Stiller encountered was actually her trying to steal her ex-boyfriend's purse. But her ex-boyfriend looked like a hobo, and it's like, that's the whole like, something's got to be wrong with her, you know. And she's also like pretty rude to him after the sunscreen thing, because she kind of blames him for the sunburn. But then she apologized and has this whole like pretty like genuine seeming redemption scene where she's like, yeah, I was like just really upset and obviously in a lot of pain because of the sunburn, etc. But then he has like maybe one of his biggest asshole scenes in the movie, which is also one of the funniest bits in the movie, I think, is where he like has plans to go meet up with the new woman, and like has this like cool guy, like fast paced, like full like complete lie.
Yeah, and it's so like fast paced. He almost seems like he's like wired, like he's on something.
Yeah, no,
Fast.
and that's
It's kinda
we're
crazy.
supposed. He's like super excited about it. He's like really into it. He's finally passionate about like this other girl, and he's like, he has this perfect character where he's like, yeah, I met these executives in the bar. You never believe it, and they're like, oh, they want to get dinner with me, but I can't. I gotta go. I can't blow it. Oh, you can come, but it's on a boat and you're seasick. It's not gonna work. I'm sorry. I gotta go. And he aces it. Obviously, he's being a huge dickhead, but it's so funny the way he performs it. I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. And of
I
course,
think.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry.
I'll just
Go.
continue with the plot, so you should go. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I think the Farrelly brothers have noticeably improved. There wasn't like very many. If I really, there's only like one little thing I can think of that's like kind of just like a stupid little like slapstick thing that I'm like, why am I seeing this? Which
What?
was when they go and see like the traditional Mexican dancing, and it's like a woman about to be fucked by a donkey, and you're like, okay, cool. That's just something about a Mary joke right there.
Yeah, that's a good
But
point.
for the most part, I'm like, it seems like they got better at making movies, and they make funnier movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Well, as far as the plot, of course, he tries to court this other girl, the Mississippi girl, Michelle girl. Well, I don't know her name, girl. Just call her Miranda. Yeah, that's it, Miranda. So trying to court her, going somewhat well, and then of course things come to a head when Lila finds out about Miranda. In a pretty funny scene where everything goes to shit. First of all, he's trying to break up with her
True.
at lunch, and the mariachi band comes in again, classic gag in the movie. And they're playing, and they won't go away, and he freaks the fuck out. He like goes all out on them, full Ben Stiller rage mode on them about how they won't go away. Sits back down, and of course, we should tell you about in Michelle Miranda's family. Danny McBride plays her cousin.
True.
He does a good job, I think. Just like protective, just protective. I mean, he's not the asshole in the situation, but to Ben Stiller, I guess he's an asshole.
True. He was kind of an asshole before he had a reason to be.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So he comes in, notices. Okay, so also up to that point, Miranda's family thought that Ben Stiller had a wife before, but died by being killed by an ice pick, because when Ben Stiller was at the kids' table at the beginning of the movie, some kids were calling him gay, and he was like making a joke like, "Oh, my wife died and she was killed," and they believed it. Like,
it was actually in like the same fast-paced response, like coming up with like a complete lie in the same style.
Yeah. Kind of cool how they put that. There are a lot of things that connect from the beginning to the end of the movie, which is cool for a comedy movie, I think. Yeah.
Also, his friend, the friend from the beginning, growing out his bangs. He's like balding in the movie. And his bangs, it's just like a strand of hair in the middle of his forehead. Yeah, it's very funny.
And all the gags with him and his wife are funny too, where he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna stand up to my wife, just like you taught me," and then it's just like clearly still like incredibly scared.
He's whipped.
As the kids say.
Right.
Yeah, kids wouldn't say that, but yeah. So where were we?
He's trying to break up with her.
Trying to break
and
up.
Everything goes wrong.
Everything goes wrong. And then everyone just accosts him on the beach.
He falls off like the wall or something, and somehow
Miranda falls, and he goes in after her.
Right, and he gets stung by a fucking Portuguese man of war, which would kill him in real life.
There you go.
He gets stung by a jellyfish.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Wait, wasn't it? Maybe I'm misremembering, but wasn't her whole volunteering job as an environmental scientist like counting jellyfish or something? Maybe I'm misremembering.
She mentions at some point when they're arguing about the job in the beginning. She's like, well, it should basically be a job because I'm trudging through the beaches, like cleaning.
True.
I think she's like cleaning up, maybe. So it would make
Oh,
sense.
yeah,
I
you
think
might
that
be
she
right.
would encounter wildlife. So
Yeah.
he gets stung. She pees on him, like she learned. And
There's
volunteering.
also the absurd Forelli moment where she she like pulls off her underwear or bikini bottom or whatever it was, and there's like a audible sound effect of her bush like puffing out, and yeah, it's
Full
like
Ferrelli moment.
it's a
For sure.
very there's something about Mary. I thought
Yeah.
that part was actually pretty funny though. I was like,
It was funny, but yeah.
that would make the cut just because I was not expecting it.
Yeah. Right. So of course he just loses everything at that point. Obviously Lila breaks up with him. Miranda goes back home and marries some other guy that we learned about earlier, who she was going to marry initially. And which I think is the funniest little sequence in the movie, where he's just like living on the island for like a few months, growing out like a shitty beard, and like acting like, like the whole woe is me thing.
There's
And
a
then-
montage of him
Yeah.
trying to sneak back into America with like
It's
a
hilarious.
band of Mexican immigrants, and it's like just
hilarious.
it's absurd. I was not expecting that either from that
No.
movie.
And he's like trudging through the swamps with them, and he's like holding like a Mexican baby, just like, above water.
True.
And then of course, one thing that totally caught me off guard, then had me like actually like laughing out loud, is like he's trying to catch a train, and some guys are like the classical like stereotypical like get on, like their hands outreached.
Yeah.
He's like trudging up to them and gets there, and they pull him in, and the timing of it, the editing is perfect. Like they pull him in, and immediately they just start beating the shit out of him in the
For
train
no
car.
reason.
No
I literally,
reason.
there's no reason. They just beat him up. They don't even like rob him. They just beat him up and throw him out of the train
Throw
car.
him out of the train. It's so funny. Yeah, and then he goes to Mississippi, to where Miranda lives, to try to win her back. Sneaks into her house in the middle of the night and fails terribly.
Yeah, Danny McBride catches him and starts beating him with a baseball bat, and then Jerry Stiller shows up for some reason.
He's like, "Come on, you want to go? You want to go?" Like, yeah.
True.
But yeah, and then fast forward some years, 18 months later, I think it was, and
Yeah.
he's living on the island permanently at a surf shop, I think it was. And
He opened his own surf shop.
Yep. And lo and behold, Miranda appears. She's divorced the other guy, and she's back down for vacation. What'll happen? We don't know. They're gonna meet up later, and she walks away, and it turns out Ben Stiller has a wife again on the island, and the cycle continues. The cycle of assholery continues.
He's like,
So, he's the same
you know
line
what,
of
babe? I
dialogue.
can't make it to dinner tonight. I got a thing. And she's like, "Well, it's our 1-year anniversary," and that's like the end of the movie. You're like, Jesus, this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's it.
pretty funny. I thought, oh, we completely forgot Uncle Tito. Screw off! I'm joking.
Dude, he got me with that, actually. I was like, okay, this is like a mid-tier joke. Like, I didn't have a problem with it, but I was like, okay, cool. But when he's fucking hobo on the island, and he's like, Miranda's been looking for you, man. I like for some reason totally bought it. He's like, I'm joking. I was like, that's actually pretty funny because I was not expecting, because it seemed very like rom-com tier for Miranda to be back and like looking for him.
No, yeah, that would be like the ending of There's Something About Mary tier.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, they're just doing a cop out again. Fine. Whatever.
They did like the opposite of cop out for the end of this movie.
They learned their lesson.
No, it was like the perfect ending.
Yeah.
Because you think it's going to be the rom-com ending, because she shows up to his surf thing and she's like, "Hey, we're back for the family reunion. It's good to see you." And he's like, yeah, I put myself together. I'm sorry about the whole thing. And she's like, yeah, maybe we'll see each other later tonight. And he's like, yeah. And then he walks around and like is talking to his wife, and you're like, bruh.
Yeah, now that we're talking about it, it does feel like the total inverse of that, where it's like the theme of like taking the rom-com and going 1 degree further with the theme and committing to it. You know what I mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
with something about Mary, it seemed like there could have been something there about this infatuation with this one woman, like something profound to say about it, more profound than the basis to say about it. Versus here, where they actually committed to the theme of like the cycle of this guy being an asshole. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I appreciated that, and I appreciate that they didn't cop out.
Dude, it's
So,
the cycle of Jim Carrey and the Cable Guy.
yeah,
Everything's cyclical, and repetition is comedy. So
there you go. It really is. So what else is there to say about this? Went through a lot.
true. I guess ratings, right?
Yeah, ratings.
Dude, honestly, maybe my favorite that we've seen so far. I mean, Meet the Parents is a classic. I might give this an 8.5, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude, I
Like,
thought it was so funny.
I appreciated a lot of it, and a lot of it was funny. I don't know. I felt like I guess at first I felt like the love that Ben Stiller had for Miranda felt really forced that it happened in like half a day.
Fair
But I guess
enough.
that's the point now that we're talking about it, right? Like
I
now
mean,
that I'm
his whole
thinking about it.
relationship, his
Prior
marriage
was
was from
yeah.
like, yeah,
So at this
he
point I
rushes
guess it
into
would
things.
what did I give something about Mary?
You gave something about Mary a 6.5. You gave Meet the Parents an 8.5.
What did I give a 7? Did I give anything a 7?
Yeah, Meet the Fockers and Along Came Polly.
Okay, yeah. No, I had to switch what I was thinking yesterday. I'm gonna give this a 7.
Yeah?
I
Alright,
think this is
alright.
just as good as Meet the Fockers.
Interesting.
I'm glad.
You know, this
Yeah,
is the biggest difference we've had in our ratings.
it
This is a
is.
1.5 difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really explain part of it for
Also,
some
the first
reason.
time I've rated something higher than you did.
Shoot,
It's interesting.
that's
There's little
an interesting
statistics.
trend. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to see how the rest of them go.
I also
I
wasn't
feel like
expecting this because I
yeah,
remember thinking, because I only saw Heartbreak Kid and Something About Mary once each, and I'd rewatched Along Came Polly a few times. And I remember, like, first of all, I wasn't as impressed with There's Something About Mary as I was hoping to be. Hence why I gave it a 6.5. You know.
hmm
And after seeing it was the same director as Heartbreak Kid, or as the Farrelly brothers, I was like, not really, didn't have a lot of high expectations for it going into it. But it literally, don't judge a book by its cover, I guess.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I really hyped myself up for Something About Mary after I heard that interview with Ben Stiller. I think so. I feel like if I wasn't primed by Ben Stiller himself, I would have maybe rated it, thought a little bit less of it. But because I think I was considering again, as he put it, like monumental impact on movies, on romantic comedy movies, I came in with that mindset. So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, it's
I
funny,
would,
either way, we ended up rating it the same.
yeah, yeah. No, well, I think it'll be interesting to see, just personally, on rewatching these and how I'll feel about them in the future,
True.
on a personal level. So, yeah. I think we've hit a filmatic record for speed of talking about movies.
Dude, we just did 5 in like 2
Because didn't we like
hours.
talk about Meet the Parents for like 2 hours? Like,
Yeah, just to Meet the
basically,
Parents.
yeah. So, jeez. And I mean, the viewers already know, but listeners might already know, but we might even be splitting them up to half and half, just to keep
True.
the episode format. So, oh,
Yeah, release it as the
intended names.
right, the intended names. but with a broader title. That's part 1 and 2.
I feel like we
Just
could even
to-
come up with better names because those were placeholders.
Yeah, definitely. Directed by Stiller. Come on.
We could come up with a better quote because like the first episode was perfect. Filmatic Fokker-eyes, just
Sure.
we'll have to think about that.
Yeah. Probably off camera.
Definitely off camera.
Or include an entire segment that's just us looking in silence for like 3 minutes.
We could cut out the silence, so it's like maybe not. All right. Anything else we should mention? Anything?
Night's Museum coming up next.
Yes, I think those will be interesting to see the rating scale for those because I feel like they'll be super close, but I'm also interested to see how they stack up against the rest of these.
True. Are we going to do in the summary of Stiller, which is not what this is?
No, not it.
Are we going to do... Because we'll obviously have every rating of every Stiller movie that we watched compiled at that point. We're going to go through and maybe change some of them because we might be like, I didn't think about this. Now, since I gave Madagascar 3 a 4,
Yeah.
maybe I really shouldn't have given Reality Bites a 3.5.
No, summary of Stiller will definitely have to be moving stuff around just for the sake of like having a comprehensive rating list. So nothing is locked in. Things are locked in for now, but not forever. So, or even next time if you told me while we're reading Night at the Museum that you changed something, I don't think it would be a big deal if we changed it. So keep on the lookout for that, guys. We're picking steam back up with Summer of Stiller. Even though school is starting, which I think will possibly heat things a little bit. But I mean, that affects everybody, right? So nothing we can really do about that. So
True.
But like we said, Summer of Stiller will not end until it's completed.
Right. Honestly, I mean, since September 23rd, I think, is the end of Berlin summer, we could probably pull it off by then.
Yeah, if we go super fast. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes left to record.
Ooh.
After this.
Yeah, we'll see.
So
I mean,
even
that's
if-
like just over a
1,
month,
2,
month and a
3,
half
4.
ish.
We would literally have to do one a week to make the deadline.
Yeah.
By a hair. By a hair.
Hair's breadth. Well, we can
So-
at least try.
We can try, and if not, we've theorized that it gets funnier the more we push it.
Well, and also, what's funny is that we easily could have made it if we had done the directed by episode when we fucking watched the movies. And the I mean, I watched Along Came Polly yesterday, but the other
Me too.
two I watched pretty much the same time I watched Reality Bites.
Okay. Well, no point crying over spilt
Stiller.
Stiller.
Can we call this Spilt Stiller?
We got. I'm gonna grab this little clip so that if people are wondering what the title is, we have a little clip for context. But yeah,
He's crying over Spilt Stiller.
Spilt Stiller or Spilt Stiller. Summer of Stiller episode 2, or Spilt Stiller parentheses all of the movies Summer of Stiller episode 2.
Wouldn't it? True. I was thinking. Well, I guess it would depend on how you formatted the other ones. In my mind, it was Summer of Stiller episode 2, Spilt Stiller, part 1. Then the name of part 1, part 2, name of part 2. And that has like 3 or 4 different titles, which in and of itself is kind of.
You'll have to type that out for me because you actually were the one who typed out the first one for me, which was Filmatic Fokker-eyed, Meet the Parents Trilogy, parentheses, Summer of Stiller episode 1.
Okay, Jesus. All right, yeah, okay. So this would be. Could you type that out for me so I can use that as a format?
Yeah. Filmatic. I'm gonna have to cut this part out, but
Duh, dude. I don't know if anyone. This is for the Filmatic 2 channel.
should we start a Filmatic 2 channel?
Didn't
that
I
where
say
the-
I was going to do like highlights reels, which I think would be
Yeah.
so funny, but it would take a lot of time.
I do actually. I do have saved like time codes in my phone of like screenshots I take listening to the
Okay.
quarantine ones of like funny moments, but I don't label them, so I just have like screenshots of random time codes with no idea.
Yeah, that is funny.
All right, there it is.
Okay, first I'm going to look up, what do you think is better, spilled or spilt?
Well, for referencing the joke we made, spilt would be correct, but
True.
spilled, I guess, would be more proper for the episode name. Do you want to do the outro and then talk about all this?
Yeah, could
that
do
we're
it.
not-
All right.
Burning size on the file. For
Yeah,
download.
good point. All right, let's
I don't
do
want
this.
another scenario like last time.
Oh.
All right. So there you have it, guys. We hit you with episode. You just heard possibly 2 or 3. I
guess both, right? Because wouldn't it be episodes 2 and 3? If we actually split it into 2 parts?
Right. All right. So you just heard episodes 2 and 3 of Summer of Stiller, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some sort of entertainment out of it. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of you who might not even be listening right now in the next episode of when we do Night at the Museum. And
True.
possibly our biggest episode. Maybe second only to Madagascar. But I'm excited for it. So, Justin, anything you want to say or plug before we head out? It's pretty late.
True. 3:15 a.m.
Oof. Colton, I hope we see you soon.
True. I mean, you have the schedule of what we're watching, so if any of it strikes you as particularly interesting, just let us know. Watch the movies for the episode, and we'll have you on.
Yeah. Maybe we'll DM him or something. Okay.
Yeah, true. King Reef. Don't remember if his third EP was out when we recorded the last episode, so I might have already plugged it. But either way, listen to King Reef on Spotify.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And while you mentioned that, I might as well plug Connor, whose new single also came out. So Damn Tired. It's out on streaming. Burnout. Look it up. And his album's coming out, I believe, next Friday. Burnout Burning. So check that out too. I know that he wants to do a Breaking Bad episode because me and Connor, I mean, this is like my 4th or 5th time rewatching Breaking Bad, but I watched it with Connor. It's Connor's first time in the last few months. And we watched that, and we watched El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie, if you know. So we're thinking about doing an episode on that, another summer intermission maybe, depending on time permitting. I don't know if you want to
Tenzin would like to...
Oh, no, we watched it with him, too. Sorry. He joined, like, in the last season, but we didn't watch a lot of it with him.
Dude, it's all he talks about is Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I mean, among cars and other things. Fragrances. Yeah,
I mean, the time of recording, before this, I watched the series finale of Better Call Saul.
Right, it just came out tonight, right?
It was pretty incredible. And,
okay.
People should check that out. I'm sorry. I'm
Stop plugging Vince Gilligan.
Dude, I wish Vince Gilligan would plug me, if you know what I'm saying.
I wish Vince Gilligan would plug this podcast to Hank Azaria so he would join it.
To Hank Schrader so he would
Dude, when Hank Schrader stood up in Heartbreak Kid, defining moment in the movie. Yeah.
Jeez.
Anyway.
All right, guys.
Okay.
We'll catch you next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. You've been listening to Filmatic Season 5 Summer of Stiller with
Justin Fischler
and Nabeel Sharif and
Rodolfo the Blind Ferret.
Breakout
Wait,
star.
wait.
What was it?
I can literally check right now. Don't end it because I think we should record. We should record a disconnected outro for part 1 where we can be like, "Hey guys, this is Justin and Nabeel from part 1. Thanks for listening. Or be prepared to check out part 2."
Oh, definitely. Let's do it.
You should just use that.
What you just said.
Yeah.
With you like
Oh.
out of frame.
Could you not see me?
I mean, no. I mean, like you, like in the background.
Oh, it's backwards. Ben Stiller, Jennifer Aniston, and introducing Rodolfo the Blind Ferret.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you want to retry that outro then? You've been listening to
Justin Fischler. And
Nabeel Sharif, and introducing
Rodolfo the Blind Ferret.
Hold it up. Let's see Rodolfo. And we'll see you next time. Cut to black.